Okay, good day, people. Good day, good day. I hope today finds you doing well. Sharks in the water. A couple of days ago, I heard some news that a certain group of people should be excited about. They should be supportive of it and everything. But of course, because it involves a man that they don't like, they think that this is a move of tyranny. They think this person is a dictator, and they just don't like it. I want to talk about a situation going on up in Washington, D.C. And it just seems like Washington, two cities have been in the news a lot lately, and that's been Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. Both are cities with very high crime rates. And for some reason or another, their leadership seems to not want to put the crime rates in their cities as a top priority. Now, just to let you know, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Went to school in Prince George's County, which is right outside of D.C. Went to nursery school, elementary school, junior high, middle school, and high school. Graduated from high school in 1986. Came down here to Durham to go to school and decided to stay down here. I never liked living in D.C. Let's see, get this on. Never liked living in D.C. I was never a big city type of person, even though I grew up in that area. My grandmother and my aunt and my cousins, they lived in an apartment that was basically in the shadow of RFK Stadium where the Redskins used to play. And I never liked the city. They got their first mayor, I think it was 1978, Mayor Marion Barry. He was corrupt. Sharon Pratt Kelly, she was corrupt. Every mayor that DC has had some corruption ties to them. And now they have a mayor, Muriel Bowser, and they're so proud of her because she's a black woman. She's a black woman. That's all they're proud about. But, and I've said this about the city I live in right now, Durham, North Carolina. We get so proud because a black person reaches leadership, and oh gosh, don't let it be a black woman. If it's a black woman, oh my goodness, people have hissy fits. Oh, we got a black woman. Oh, and see, the problem is the sense of pride that they have, you know. Oh, we got a black woman who's our mayor, who's our governor, who's this, who's that, who's, you know. And let me reiterate too. Let me filter that out a little bit. You know, a black liberal woman. Because if it was a black conservative woman, they'd be like, oh, she's corrupt and all that and everything. But the perfect storm is a black liberal woman. And, you know, a couple of years ago, they were talking about, you know, we had 4 people in major roles of leadership here in Durham. And they were all black women. The police chief, the mayor, I think it was a lawyer, and it was somebody else. And they were like, yeah, 4 black women are running Durham, North Carolina. And I'm sitting there like, do you all realize that just because these people are black, liberal, and women, that doesn't mean that they're going to run the city the way it needs to be run? And this is why I believe that some people shouldn't even be allowed to vote, because they only vote because of emotion and someone's appearance. Now, I don't want to vote for him because he's a white man. Oh, but she's a black woman. Oh, I'll vote for her. That's why I believe some people shouldn't be allowed to vote. But anyway, getting back to DC. DC is run by Muriel Bowser, who neglected to call the National Guard on January 6, 2021. And of course, the media spin that out to make it look like that, you know, Donald Trump was trying to take over the government and it was an insurrection, which it was not. They tell you that a lot of people died and got killed that day. It was only one person who got killed, and that was a white Trump supporter. But they want to use her death to say, yeah, people died, you know. But I'm pretty sure a lot of those people were glad that a Trump supporter got killed. And the person who killed her, he needs to be in prison, was a black man that shot and killed her. He needs to be in prison. Now, if the roles were reversed, you know, we'd be talking about it till the cows come home. Well, no, we wouldn't talk about it till the cows come home. Cows come home, we'd still be talking about it. But DC has always been a bastion of crime for as long as I've known DC. There were times you would hear gunshots. There'll be times I would be in my grandmother's apartment watching TV at nighttime, and you'll see police copters flying overhead, shining a spotlight down on the street looking for somebody. And don't even get me started on Southeast DC, Southeastern DC, Minnesota Avenue, Alabama Avenue, Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, Berry Farms, Anacostia, all them areas. Matter of fact, my nickname Southeast Vince comes from Southeast DC, you know, because Southeast DC is known for a lot of gang activity, which there's gang activity all over DC, but Southeast is particularly notorious for it. And someone wanted to give me a gangster name, so they call me Southeast Vince. And that's the name I take in, and I don't take it as a gangster name or anything. I've accepted the name because the southeastern part of the United States is my favorite part of the United States. So I say, you know what, I'll call myself Southeast Vince, you know. But Southeast Washington, D.C. is notorious for criminal activity. In 1994, one of my best friends was shot and killed. He was playing basketball, and someone came up and shot and killed him. It was right down the street from where my mother lived. And they said the way he was running looked like he was trying to run to my mother's apartment. But he died before he got there. Nobody has figured out his death. Who killed him? Nobody's figured out who killed him. And this was during the time of Mayor Marion Barry. Now, those of you all who know Marion Barry, he was busted for smoking crack in a hotel. He was kicked out for being a mayor. I think he did some prison time. But the mayor that came in after him was a woman named Sharon Pratt Kelly, and she was known for her corruption. And they quickly voted her out, and they voted Marion Barry back in. And Marion Barry was a hypocrite. He would walk out, talk about, you know, take back the streets. You know, he would have marches in DC, take back the streets and all that and everything. But he was corrupt himself. And not only that, he reduced the number of police in Washington, D.C., in the D.C. area. See, this defund the police thing isn't a recent thing. Marion Barry was doing it back in the he was doing it back in the 80s and the 90s. And, you know, this led to a lot of murders in D.C. going unsolved. I know of another friend, he had his brother was killed some years before that, before my friend was killed. And I don't think they found out who his murderer was either. And was thanks to Marion Barry. But the city has always been corrupt. And we're talking about the capital city of the United States of America, Washington, D.C. This is the seat for the government in our nation. And it really boggles my mind why our capital city, one of the most important cities in the world, is so corrupt and so crime-ridden. So Donald Trump comes in and he's like, okay, I'm going to put an end to all this. I'm putting my foot down. I'm going to federalize the government. I think that's what he said, something like that, in D.C. He's taking over the government in D.C. And people have lost their lunches over this. Oh, he's a dictator. See, I told you he's a dictator. Look at him. He's a tyrant. No, we ain't going to have this. So the people who are complaining about Donald Trump taking over the government in Washington, D.C., they can sit there and complain about Donald Trump, but nobody has a solution to the problem of crime in D.C. They don't have a solution. So why are you complaining about Donald Trump coming in and putting his foot down? What else is there to do? I remember some years ago, they were talking about relaxing D.C. has one of the most strict gun control laws in the country, which is one of the main reasons why D.C. is so crime-ridden, because if you are a D.C. resident, you are forbidden to own a gun. But yet and still, every year, they have gun crimes in D.C., which the gun laws didn't keep the criminals from their guns. And this is an argument that's made so many times, but people just don't look at it. When you enact these gun control laws, the only people who are going to disarm are those who follow the law. Criminals don't follow the law. That's why they're criminals. They're not going to approach a gun-free zone and say, man, I wanted to kill that guy over there, but this is a gun-free zone, so I guess I can't use my gun. No, criminals disobey the law. That's why they are called criminals. That's why they're called lawless. That's why they're called evildoers. Because they don't follow the law. And D.C. has one of the strictest gun laws in the country. But they were talking about relaxing those gun laws, and people got up in arms. Oh, you're going to turn D.C. into a shooting gallery. D.C. is already a shooting gallery. What are you talking about? Oh, man, it's going to increase the crime. The crime has already increased in D.C. This is the mode of thinking that certain people who go out to vote, this is the kind of thinking that they involve themselves in. Now, Donald Trump, I think he's doing the right thing, because none of the mayors in D.C. have really done anything about the crime problem. Every last one of them have done exactly nothing to stop the crime in Washington, D.C. At one time, D.C. had the nickname of Capital City of Murder because it was the #1 city in the country where people were getting murdered. This was in the 90s. It was the top city. It's still one of the top cities right now. But people want to get all bent out of shape because, Donald Trump wants to do something about the crime and he's putting his foot down. And see, they've already been conditioned to hate Donald Trump. Every little thing Donald Trump does, they think, he's being a tyrant, he's being a dictator, he's being a bully. But Donald Trump's like, nah. I'm tired of people looking at our city as being so crime-ridden, which it is. And he's like, no, we're going to stop this thing. This is our capital city. And nobody who has been leader over this city has done anything about the crime. They'll talk about, what to do to reduce racism and all that crazy mess. And, we got to make sure the cops, they're not racist and all that crazy mess. That's why they're glad they got the black liberal woman as their mayor right now. But you got 13-year-old kids carjacking taxi drivers and killing them. But you don't want to cut down on that because it might look racist. Y'all, crime doesn't know a color. It doesn't care if you're black, white, or whatever. Criminals don't care. They don't care. Criminals are going to criminal. And something needs to be done about the crime. Now, let me tell you this, though. Let me tell you this. Most of the people committing the crimes in Washington, D.C., I can't put a finer point on it, but they are black people. A lot of black on black crime goes on in Washington, D.C. Most of the people that commit the crimes in D.C. are black people. Now, our black leaders don't say anything about that. So-called black leaders, let me say that. Black leaders in quotation marks, because they are not leaders. All they do, they'll talk about what the white man is doing to black folks and everything, and we need to stop this and whatever. But when a black person guns down another black person, silence, crickets. They might get out and say, "Oh, let's stop the violence," but they will never specify black on black crime because that's racist. What about white on white crime? Yeah, nah. When you talk about white on white crime, you're missing the point. What people are trying to say is black people are going around here talking about the white man is holding them down and the white man is murdering them and everything. But we murder more people, more of ourselves in 1 year across this country, not just in D.C., across this country. We murder more people in 1 year than the Ku Klux Klan has murdered in their entire lifetime. But our black leaders don't say that. Our black leaders don't talk about that. We always got to talk about some injustice being done to us by the white man. But we don't talk about the injustice that we do to each other. Someone was sharing with me this girl, her father had passed. Her father had passed. And her aunts and uncles and other family members, they didn't want to tell her that her father had passed because they wanted to get the father's inheritance. So they wanted to hush up about her father passing because they wanted to get a piece of that inheritance. These were black people. And I told this person, I said, now see, we will do this to each other, but we always complaining about the white man, what the white man is doing. We're always complaining about that. But we do to each other, we commit worse offenses to each other than any white man has ever committed against us. But we don't say anything about that. And these people that call themselves the black leaders, you know, they need to sit down somewhere. The Al Sharptons, the William Barbers, you know, the black commentators like Rashad Ritchie and Joy Reid and Roland Martin and all the rest of them, they need to sit down somewhere because they don't know what they're talking about. Because when a black man gets up and he says, I'm going to speak to my fellow black citizens that we need to stop this crime. We need to stop this. We need to stop that. We need to clean up our communities. Black man does that, he gets called a coon. Gets called a sellout. Gets called an Oreo. Mr. Step It and Fetch It. You're just playing up to the white man. But this person wants to clean it. But this is why our communities never get cleaned up. I remember Roland Martin was he was reprimanding this young man. This young man at the time, he was 21 years old. He's probably about 25, 26 years old. He bought a school, bought some school buses. He wanted to start a school because he wanted to make a difference in the black community. Roland Martin called this kid an idiot, called him an idiot because this kid wasn't waiting around for, he even told him, he said, I'm not waiting for Joe Biden. I'm not waiting for Donald Trump. I want to make a difference now. And Roland Martin up there, well, don't you vote? Don't you vote? You know, you got to vote somebody in there who can make all this stuff possible. He said, look, I'm not waiting on these guys to do this. I'm going to do this now. And Roland Martin called that kid an idiot. And it just goes to show you that people care more about what the government can do for them than what they can do for themselves. A lot of times, you know, when someone is up to vote and everything, you get a bunch of black people coming out talking about, what are you going to do for black people? Now, if I was in that position, I'd be like, that's a good question. But I'd like to pose that question to you. What are you black people going to do for yourselves? Because there's only so much I can do as a government official. But the government's all too happy to, yeah, we're going to do this for black people. Yeah, we'll throw you a bone and everything. And they don't do jack squat diddly. Because a lot of black people, a lot of black voters, they think the government is going to be the cure-all to all their ills. And they're not. What are you going to do for yourself? You need to look at yourself as an individual and say, what can I do as an individual, myself? What can I do to improve my community? But nobody does that. And when a black person gets up and they say, hey, I'm going to, you know, I want to make a difference in my community, he gets shouted down by his black contemporaries. You don't know what you're talking about. You just playing up to the white man. Okay, well then let your communities go to rot. And don't sit here and complain about the crime and everything and then blame the white man, because there were your own people wanted to help out, wanted to do some good, but you kept tearing them down, saying that they're trying to be white and all that crazy mess. I get it all the time, but you know, and just to let you all know, pretty soon I'm going to be starting my program, my podcast back up again, True Sharks Radio. You know, I've had some calamities this year and I need to take care of them. But I've had people on my show come on and talk about, well, why are you always talking about what black people are doing? Why can't you talk about the white folks? Well, then I can make the same case, you know, if I talked about white folks all the time. Someone can come up and say, well, why are you talking about the white people all the time? Why don't you talk about the black folks? And the reason why I talk about black folks as much as I do is because, as you can see, I'm a black man. I care about my community. And even though I might not be able to get out there, I don't have the finances or whatever to get out there to affect it on a wider basis, I have a voice. And I'm using my voice to speak out on a lot of things that I see in the black communities. But you know what? They shout me down, say, oh, you're just trying to be white. Oh, you're Mr. Step It and Fetch It. One guy said I was a black comfort dog for white conservatives. That's my favorite one. But you can't even speak what you want to see. You can't even speak the changes that you want to see in the black communities. And see, I come from a Christian perspective. I don't come from politics or anything like that. You know, I come from a Christian perspective. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. If what you're saying is the right thing, I'm going to go along with it. If it's the wrong thing, I'm going to oppose it. But I'd done my radio program since 2009. And, you know, you get these people on here. One guy called me a stupid N-word. This was another black person. And you can't call a black man the N-word. The N-word doesn't offend me. It really doesn't. It doesn't offend me. You know, he came up, called me a stupid N-word because I'm not supporting the black community. Look, let me tell you all something. If you want to take my black card, I will gladly give it up. I will gladly give it up. I am not a card carrying black member, okay? I'm a person who just happens to be black who wants to do the right thing. I don't care about being black and black culture and all. I don't care about any of that crap. You know, a lot of times people will bring up, you know, certain music people who pioneers in music, you know, like NWA or whatever they were and everything. And I don't know any of the songs that they produce because I never listened to that garbage. People talking about, oh, they were revolutionary. Yeah, they were revolutionary, but not in the right way. They want to talk about killing cops and committing crimes and selling dope and running women and all that crazy mess. I ain't got no time for that type of mess. I don't listen to that garbage. People might ask me, Vincent, you ever heard this song by Ice Cube? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, that song. I don't know what in the world because I never listened to Ice Cube. I never listened to P. Diddy. I never listened to Ice-T or any of the rest of them, or any of the rest of the Cold and Ice and all that crazy mess. And I never listened to them because I'm fed up with black culture. I'm fed up with the ratchetness. I'm fed up with the whoremongering. I'm fed up with it. The nasty language. I'm fed up with all of it. This is one of the main reasons why I left DC. When I came down to Durham, now Durham has its problems, don't get me wrong. And a lot of the problems Durham has, the same problems that I left in DC. It's not on a wider scale though. But DC, you know, the traffic, the population and everything, I just couldn't, I'm not a big city person. Durham is more my style. But you got people trying to run down Durham as well. And that's the number one reason why I live in Durham, because, you know, DC, I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't take DC. But anyway, I approve of Donald Trump, what he proposes to do in DC, and I hope he does a good job. I'll be praying for him to do a good job in DC, cut down on that crime, because DC, it's sickening that a city like DC is so overrun with crime. And all I've been hearing, and the thing about it, it's the kids. It's the kids now who are the criminals. I mean, a couple of years ago, 2 13-year-old girls carjacked a taxi, killed the driver. But they didn't want to mention their names, you know, because, you know, they're minors and all that. Nah, some of these minors need to go to jail for a long time. But it's the kids up there. And I'm like, yo, see, and it's gotten to the point where it has poisoned the very youth of DC. And now Donald Trump is like, okay, y'all, this is enough. And people got their panties in a bind because Donald Trump wants to cut down on crime in DC. Folks, please make that make sense. Please make it make sense. And, you know, and not just DC. I look at other capital cities in this nation, like Baton Rouge, Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi, even Atlanta, Georgia. And these places are corrupt, overridden with crime. And when someone says, hey, we need to do something about the crime, they get shouted down. But their leadership's not doing anything about the crime. All they care about is social justice and civil rights and all that crazy mess. That's all they care about. And a lot of these people, they get there, they get that position, they get paid, they get that money and everything, they put it in their pockets. Yeah, I'm doing so. Yeah. Basically, they're taking a loaf of bread, crumbling it up and sprinkling you with some crumbs, and you're like, oh, they're helping us. Okay, you keep on thinking that if you want to. But anyway, I want to say to Donald Trump, I don't think he watches these videos. I don't think he does. But hey, keep doing what you're doing, and I got your back 100% in taking over the government of Washington D.C. So, if you all can take that to mean whatever you want it to mean, but I support Donald Trump in this endeavor. I'm Vincent E. Brown. I'm signing off. Until the next time, I'll see you on The Rebound.